friends, and
Beautiful.
because I always feel like this part of the discussion is actually like valuable, where like both people are like socially warming up to one another,
Yeah.
even though they're very comfortable with each other. I just find like there's always like some gems within these first like 3 minutes.
And we are
So
very comfortable with each other. So
yeah, I titled this one something along the lines of like men only need two things to be successful. So I thought I'd make it ambiguous, and then when I've changed Airbnbs, so I've come to a new Airbnb in Belgrade, and the
nice.
lady left me two things. So she left me Deception Point by Dan Brown, and this book as well. So those are the two things that men need to be successful. You need to get Deception Point by Dan Brown, and this book by this Japanese woman, and then your life will be complete. But anyway,
I'm
regardless,
taking mental notes. I'm taking mental notes. Don't worry.
Yeah, forget about the 48 laws of power. Deception Point. That's where it's at, man. How have you been anyway? Because I know you've got some updates regarding like your first fucking in field that's in the pipe work.
Yeah, which is pretty fucking cool considering 4 months ago I couldn't even approach a single girl. So that's very funny to hear about. But yeah, I was thinking, even when you asked me about like topic, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, well, I'm sure there's something there in like the footage that I filmed. So yeah, yesterday I concocted a video which was kind of it reminded me of like film breakdown for football back in the high school days, where I would literally like play one of the infields, chopped up and edited, and then I'd be like live reacting to it with my head in the corner, in the bottom corner, and I'm like, yeah, here's what I liked about it, here's what I think I could have done better, but here's like my overall takeaway from it. And while I was doing that, I was just thinking about like, wow, even though I'm like sitting on the other side of the screen as somebody who is not necessarily teaching, but like sharing my experience as somebody on the other side of this skill, it's still valuable for me to just like be vulnerable. I pulled a lot from your podcast actually, where you're talking about emotional bravery. So that could be another, like reoccurring theme in the live, but where I was like, well, this would be a perfect opportunity to show that not only do I actually like talk about the stuff, or not only do I actually do the things that I talk about on the channel, but like I can also put myself as the object of criticism in front of everybody and show that like, yes, I've been able to sure build this skill set, but like here's what it looks like. Here is a realistic day in the life of somebody who can approach. But to tie it all together though, the coolest thing I think of the footage is the way that it ended. It wasn't an instant date, but it was like a same day date. And that was like the cool thing to happen for first kind of an infield. So I ended the video on that note, which is pretty cool.
You just wait, man. You're gonna get the comments like, "Oh, this is fake. She's
of course.
she's a paid actress. This could never happen. So... This could never happen in real life. All Americans are fat. It doesn't work." But yeah, no, it's funny. I think. Do you know what? I think it kind of ties into the title somewhat, but like I think the most satisfying thing for me now is guys who I've worked with, such as yourself, are now branching off and creating their own things. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be day game related. Like, I'm really happy that it is, because for me, it's just become such a much more powerful movement than me being like, right, this is me. I'll teach you the skill set. Maybe you'll get results. Maybe you won't. Give me your money, and like I don't care. It's so much more nurturing and holistic than that. And now you're doing your thing. You're creating your videos. Like George, he's putting his videos together. Joseph is putting his fucking YouTube videos out there. And then
Oh, I need to throw him a sub then.
You do. Yeah,
I already subbed to George.
Joseph's videos are hilarious. I've commented on all of them, but his latest video, it's like him on this fucking beach in Brazil. There's this like fat guy behind him who's doing pull-ups, and just like his commentary is just funny, like because it's not meant to be funny. He's just like very stoic in his delivery. He's like, "Yep, there's a guy behind me doing pull-ups." Yeah, it's just really funny. It's like a mafia don doing like a David Attenborough like documentary. It's hilarious. But no, I just love that. I love that the fact that it's not just a case of I'm just teaching you one skill set. It's like after we've spent time together, you're able to level up your life holistically. And then for me, that's what I want. My community, the Entourage, to be it's a case of where guys can come in and they can level up their lives across the board. Like, they'll get more girls, make more money, escape the 9 to 5, live an independent lifestyle, all through association. And what do you think was the turning point for you that made you think, yeah, I actually want to start creating content now?
Yeah, so I'll answer that question. And while you were talking, it actually made me think of something else. So initially, I didn't want to really make content in this space. I think the first reason was just because of like the social climate, and I didn't necessarily want to put myself in a position where I could jeopardize like maybe like my professional career. And I was thinking like this certainly doesn't align with like the PC movement and like doing things out of the norm. Now, obviously, we like the way we operate is it's like incredibly respectful, and like we take a lot of care when we do our approaches. But still, people are gonna look at this and like put us into a category of guys. So that's kind of partially why I didn't want to make content in this space. But then the reason why I landed on it was as I was thinking about our experience in Warsaw, and we were talking about like the first thing, the first step towards creating a personal brand is actually like putting some sort of content out. And I remember that other channel where I was kind of just like putting out random videos of like topics in my life and there wasn't much direction. And I wasn't very excited to make content because there wasn't much direction. And I was just like, whenever something pops into my brain, I'll make a video about it. But at least this way, there's more of like, there's thought behind it. And there's like, okay, well, and then not only is it thought, but I could also like see what people's pain points maybe in the comments and like address that in videos. So I really liked that I landed on this because I guess what I realized was that if I was to like choose any area of my life where I have more experience than like more or like than most people, I couldn't think of too many except for like I guess maybe programming because like most people haven't gotten to the entry level programming level, but still it's like it's not that exciting. So but I figured shit, like experiences with girls, something that I couldn't really find much on the internet in like in our flavor. But now that we've just fucking concocted this, I'm gonna try to like maybe create my own style of content, which is really just like self accountability leaning. So that's why I landed on it. And then that brings us to your initial question, which was it what made you start the channel? Okay, so what made me start the channel was I really do enjoy programming. It's my favorite job that I've had so far, and the flexibility that it allows me is amazing. So if I had to work at any job for the rest of my life, it would definitely be at least up until this point programming. And but on the other side of that is that I still would prefer to have complete control of my own time eventually. And I'm playing the long game, so I'm aware that might be 5, 10 years down the road even. And I'm okay with that, especially because I have a solid skill set for the time being. But just knowing that if I want to eventually have complete control over my own time, then I need to have some sort of a like an audience that I can monetize eventually. And again, that doesn't have to be until 5 years or so. But well, I guess a better way to put this is if I do want to create a personal brand and monetize or I guess work for myself eventually, it'll be a lot easier to do that and to come up with a service already having a decent sized audience to begin with. So it'll be easier to make the pivot from 9 to 5 to working for myself with an audience of 1,000, 10,000, etc., versus with an audience of zero. So that's really just the thinking behind why I decided to start it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I love the idea of brand building, like creating something out of nothing. Like, I really love the creative process. Like, I love being able to just sit down with myself and just really ask myself, okay, what do I want to create? Like, what sort of message do I want to put out there? And like the way that my content has evolved over the years, I've gone from just making like very basic infield footage. Like, there's nothing wrong with infield footage; it's fine. But like for me, I've surpassed that now. Like, my
Hmm.
content, I don't want my content to be, I don't want it to be easily categorized. Like, I
Hmm.
want to take influence from everywhere and put it into like a 10-minute piece of art, which really educates but also entertains as well. So that's the direction. Like me just putting like basic infield footage out, it just does not excite me. It actually detests me in a way because I'm like, oh wow, I've done this for 3 years now, and like if someone is like making, let's say someone is starting making their, not you, but let's say someone is like starting making like infield content, like, oh Kristian, like would you be able to look at this and tell me what you think? I don't give a flying fuck, mate. I could not think of anything worse than to sit down and watch it, because the thing is, right, all infields are basically the same. You need more, and this is probably going to be useful for you as well. You need more than just the raw infield content. Like guys are watching the infield content first of all because they want to know you fail as well. That's why rejection reels are so popular. They want to know that you fail, you have bad experiences, and like if I see someone and they're just putting out like just basic infield content, just like it's like a dick waving contest. Oh my god, look what I did. It just doesn't really excite me. I want to know like how are you feeling in that interaction? What happened earlier on in the day? Why did you decide to put this particular piece of content out? Like the thoughts that were going through your mind, like all that shit. I find that's what's valuable. But then for me, now it's about telling a story, but like using the infield footage to emphasize the story. So yeah, I think when you are making content, you have to make content that really does excite you, not content that you necessarily think is going to get views, but like when you click upload, you can honestly say to yourself, I don't care how many views this is going to get, I just really enjoyed making it. That's actually when your videos perform the best. Yeah, like all like detached from outcome. I agree with that to an extent, but no one's making videos because they want to get 0 views. So like you are attached to an outcome of some sort. However, I think the outcome you need to be attached to is a sense of satisfaction. Like if you really enjoyed making it, then you've already won. And also the great thing as well with YouTube is that your videos can pop off at any time. That's why the YouTube algorithm, it's not like TikTok or like Instagram where your videos have to go viral in the first like 10 minutes, otherwise you're fucked. With YouTube, your videos can get picked up like 6 months later. So like I remember saying to your voice notes, YouTube is its own mental mastery process. It's so easy to get addicted to the analytics. I had another one of my guys yesterday who started his YouTube and he sent me a screenshot. He was like, bro, is this good? Like, are these analytics good? I'm like, mate, don't even worry about if it's good or bad. Just all your focus needs to be when you press upload, you're on to the next video, then the next video, the next video. And that can be hard because you can pour your heart and soul into a video, very much like approaching. You could like think, oh, that was such a great approach. You got the number and you never hear from that girl again. So yeah, for me, that's why doing day game and YouTube simultaneously, it was the best combination because for me, both are the ultimate test of delayed gratification. You could be putting shit out for years. No one can watch. And then all of a sudden, boom, takes off like a fucking rocket. Just to pick up on this guy, infield get more views though. Yeah, but no one is saying that infield footage does not get views. But if you look at my videos now, it's using the infield footage more intelligently. Yeah, like if you've seen one infield, you've basically seen all of them. And again, it's not about making videos purely to get views. It's okay, who am I speaking to here? Who are the people who are actually going to take value away? Because to be honest, most people who watch infield content do fuck all with it, right? They just consume it. Like after you've watched a couple, you've got everything you need. You're either going to go out there and put it into practice, or you're just going to continue wanking in the wind. I can't tell you the amount of guys who got in contact with me about 2 years ago, and they've still not done anything. It's still a case of, oh yeah, I'm about to go and do this course, or I've signed up to the gym now, but you're still not doing the thing. So it's like, why are you consuming mindlessly? Right? Yeah, great. It's good for my views, but ultimately, I want you to either watch the videos, go and do it, or if you can't do it on your own, find people to help you. It doesn't have to be me, but at least find somebody who you know, like, and trust to get you through this process, because there's just far too many guys who are just weak-minded and they're just watching in fields like it's Netflix.
Well, I have something to say, but first of all, when you said weak-minded, it reminded me of that line from the podcast yesterday. I was cracking up at the gym. You said something like, your questions are so small. That made me really laugh. I love that line. So yeah, interestingly, on that note, when I was watching your content, I I remember there were 2 infield videos essentially, because it's funny you say that, like, yeah, you only need to watch a few and then you need to act. There was one, I think the first one was with George, and the second one was your rejection compilation. And between those 2, I was like, yeah, this guy can do it. So after that, that's when I sent you that message with my fucking LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, this
I
guy's
was like, yeah,
overqualified himself.
Kristian, yeah, I am a serious contender. I want to learn this shit. Here's my LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah. I was trying to put myself at the top of your list. So, but I completely agree. Like there is only so much to be gained. Like I would only watch infield footage now just to like have fun, to entertain myself while I'm eating my Panda Express or whatever. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And then I like your note about using it strategically, because that's kind of what I did. I'm trying to like to do that from the start. So in this newest video here, really I just structured it as like clip and then like breakdown of the clip. Even like some of the clips I just recorded as I was on my board afterwards, like a post game kind of like self interview, where I'd be like, yeah, I was nervous at that one. You can kind of hear it, probably hear it in the footage, but here's what I was thinking. Here's what I was thinking as her friends were approaching. I started getting more nervous. This is why I bailed. I have plenty of bails in there. And then the first 3 4 I got blown out of. So it's like a very realistic day in the life of just somebody who doesn't have the fear anymore, who can do the approaches. But it's like that, just because you can do the approaches doesn't mean that every approach is going to go good. In fact, it doesn't really mean that at all. Like, sure, we're trying to get our skill set to the point where we can like limit the number of blowouts, but it's just, there's only so much you can do there. Like, you're always going to get blown out. It's always going to be like just going for the next one. So yeah, I just think I put that into practice here, which I'm pretty happy with.
100%. Just let me answer this comment, because it's going to entertain me thoroughly.
Yeah, I didn't read it. What it said.
Why do you belittle so many questions from viewers? So first of all, my friend, the word you're looking for is belittle, not belittle. Little is a supermarket that you can find in most cities in Europe. It's kind of rude, not going to lie. My friend, if I remember correctly, you're the same guy who asked me how he could fuck his own cousin. So please don't come over onto my channel and attempt to take the moral high ground when you asked me in several comments, how can I fuck my cousin? So, Mr. Danny, okay, you seem like a good guy, but let's just leave it there for now, because you don't have any perspective or any social intelligence to actually talk about. And also, the final thing I'll say, it's my fucking channel, mate.
Yeah,
if you don't like it, go fuck yourself, or your cousin if you want to. I don't know if you've got over that particular phase you were going through. So anyway, I wish you all the best going forward. If you carry on commenting, if you carry on getting upset by the streams, I'll just remove you from the channel. It makes everyone's life better. But thank you for supplying some entertaining ammunition for this live stream. There was actually another question as well, which was actually a good question. So let me just mop it up, which was how to make interactions more sexual. I think this is actually a good question, but I would say you can't force it. Like, you can't go into every conversation and think, right, I'm gonna make this conversation sexual. Oh, hello, you've got nice beep. With creating a more seductive vibe, it really just comes down to a few like simple principles. It's your eye contact, your tonality, and also your proximity as well. So actually getting closer than you usually would to a girl. It all starts within those first few seconds. Like, as soon as you've gone over to that girl and said, "Excuse me," you lock eyes, you get relatively close to her, and you're speaking in a way where it's a more grounded, seductive tonality. Like, "Oh, hi, I just saw you. You look amazing." It's like you want to speak a little bit lower, and I actually think it's more difficult if you're a beginner. Like, if you're completely new to this, the last thing you're going to do is make your conversations seductive. You're most likely going to be very social because you're absolutely shitting it. So I think more seductive conversations come with experience. I would also say as well, go out at night as well, because it's a lot easier to cultivate that seductive edge at night as opposed to the day, because people are like, they're more in that space. And also at night, you can bounce between a lot of different groups of girls without any like sort of concern. You could like speak to like 30 girls in a night, and by like 10 approaches, you've started to find your flow. Day game can be a little bit harder because the volume can be a little bit sparse sometimes. So you might have to wait like 20 minutes between approaches, whatever. But those are what I would say to you. Eye contact, tonality, proximity, and just cut yourself a little bit of slack as well. You don't want to go into every conversation with almost this checklist. Like, right, I'm going to go into this one and I'm going to be seductive. It depends on where the girl's at in the moment as well. Like, you don't really have a lot of control. If the girl's like in a massive rush, she's about to go pick up a pet porcupine, try saying that when you're pissed, then she's probably not going to be in that space, right? But you might see that exact girl a different day. And now maybe she just had a really good day. Maybe she just finished work. Maybe she's had a few drinks and she's feeling a little bit more relaxed. It's easy then to cultivate it, but I say just try not to force it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and I think that you covered the technical parts like perfectly. I wouldn't have anything to add to that. I just think the pre-checklist, so before thinking about like what can I actually do technically, it also there's just like this high level mindset of just being okay with showing intent. And that kind of for me was like something that I needed to learn after unlearning like being scared of doing that, because when I was growing up, at least just using myself for experience, I was just taught that it was like you can get made fun of for having a crush. You get made fun of at school. Your uncles would joke around with you. Oh, look, little Ephraim has a crush, blah blah blah. And so that kind of steered me away from wanting to be bold in conversation, to really put myself out there and really show the intent. So, and then another portion of that is like you have to be okay with sometimes like the joke might not land, which might be what's preventing you from making it in the first place. But again, if we were to simplify that, it just comes down to like being comfortable in your own skin, being comfortable in your masculinity, which probably is something you can learn along the way. But then like that's like the first step. That's like what's permeating, and then once you're okay with that, implementing these steps, I mean, exactly verbatim what he said, is there are just certain things that you can do, like the eye contact that you're holding, the voice tonality that you're keeping. And what I realized in my previous video that I broke down about like the infield is that a lot of the times I was breaking a lot of these rules. So it's not like you learn this and then you're perfect at it. It's like something that you're always working towards. But at least knowing them and being aware of them allows you to like self-correct while in different approaches in different scenarios. So, but yeah, I like that answer a lot. Yeah, that's
I think
he's fucking his cousin, huh? That's crazy.
Well, he's trying to. He was trying to. But these the comments, I have to say, I am entertained by them, because it's just one of those where people come onto the stream. I'm more than happy to answer questions, but if it starts to get into the territory of incest, and I do have personal boundaries on that, if someone tells me how I should be conducting myself online, that person, I think, just needs a little bit of educating. How much easier is Eastern Europe woman? That's right. Straight to the point. How much easier is Eastern European women compared to UK? Well, before I answer that, my friend, let me just say something else I was going to say. I think we also have to remind ourselves that women are sexual beings, and that's something that I've really just had to remind myself. Like when we are going out there, I think it's easy to sink into the paradigm of thinking, oh, this is a special snowflake in front of me who never misbehaves, who's never got sex on her mind, who goes to church every Sunday. Like, we have to remind ourselves that we're all on this earth because we are born from sex. And I would say girls are far filthier and dirtier than you most likely are. Like, it really is racing through their minds a lot. Like, if you actually have conversations with girls, like real girls, like in the real world, like not just like watching a lot of videos online, but actually getting out there and speaking to girls, like going on dates with girls and actually finding out like who they are and what they think. Like My Secret Garden by Nancy Friday is really good. If for whatever reason you've got some resistance towards going outside, then order it from Amazon. You don't have to leave your fucking house. It can get delivered through the cat flap. But my secret garden is. Did you like that one? You've been laughing back to that one when you listen to this in the gym. But yeah, my secret garden is really good because it really elucidates women's fantasies, like Housewives, I think, like from the 1960s. But yeah, just remind yourself that women are sexual beings. It doesn't mean you should be going out there and being like very crass and crude, right? There's a subtle art to seduction, and it really is a dance. It's almost like this I know that you know that we all know, and we're almost just kind of like, like playing a game to an extent. And like insinuation is another thing that I think is very difficult to teach to guys. I think some guys are really good at it, some guys are absolutely abysmal at it. But like saying things which have got double meanings, or being able to like create an atmosphere of possibilities where it's all very playful. And like I'm good at that because I'm more on like the creative side of things. Like I like literature, I like art, I like, just being like creative with words. I like all that shit. So that comes more easy to me. But the art of seduction by Robert Greene is another really good book. If you are more of like the thinking man. But that's what I was gonna say. The guy asked like how's Eastern? I mean, you can chime in with this as well. You can compare like the States to Poland. Yeah, go for it. Well, how did you find the women in Poland compared to the States, apart from skinnier?
Well, I was going to say before I answered his question directly, I just had some thoughts on like what you were saying previous, which was just to give like a different perspective. I'm someone who it doesn't come easy for at all. In fact, like when it comes to like my flirting and my insinuation, it's all manufactured. Like it's all like been learned and implemented, and I was really bad at it at first, and I was too direct or too obvious. I wasn't concealing it enough, and that's really what it is like you're concealing the double meaning in just like witty English, pretty much, in your ability to just like dress it up nicely so that maybe like the people around you don't exactly understand what's being said, but like and she knows. So I just got better at that over time. But yeah, it didn't come easy to me at all. I was really poor at it. Now I'm still not very good at it, especially on the spot. But over text, I'm a lot better. And then yeah, just when we are talking, I'm a lot more comfortable in my own skin, comfortable with the showing intent part now. So now I'm able to yeah to operate a little better when it comes to being more having more sexually charged conversations. But yeah, to address this question, I've never really been the type to like to judge a country based on like the little sample size of women that I interacted with. So I mean, I what I can say though, just to keep everything like framed positively, because I'm not going to sit here and say like, yeah, this country has no gorgeous. Like I have no idea, but when I was in Warsaw, I was absolutely blown away by the frequency at which we passed a girl that I was like, of course I'm gonna approach her. Like the frequency at which that happens out here is just so much lower when it's like I'm passing a girl, and that was just walking, right? Like we were walking down the same street. We took the same route 30 days in a row, and just without fail, every single day there was 15, 30 plus girls that I was like, wow, I could approach her. Wow, and oftentimes we did. Like we pulled the trigger on a lot of those. But being out here, I'll be on my electric skateboard, which covers a lot more ground in let's say a few hours, and yeah, I won't be able to get nearly as many approaches in, just because the frequency is not necessarily there. So that's my take on it. What about you? I've never been to the UK, so I can't speak on that.
Not yet, but you've always you've always got an open invitation. You let us know when you come in, and we'll roll out the red carpet, and
Absolutely.
we'll get all of the Entourage members
I
together.
expect nothing less. Red carpet,
Mate,
a few limos.
we'll get that massive panda from Warsaw to join us as well.
Yeah, import him.
Yeah, I mean, Eastern Europe, how's it compared to the UK? Imagine that I'm going to use a football or soccer reference now. Excuse me. Imagine that like Eastern Europe is Real Madrid and the UK is Barnsley. That basically answers it. But in layman's terms, look, there really is no comparison, in my opinion. Right? I believe that the UK, London and Manchester, I think they are the best cities to learn this skill set. So, like, if you're listening to this and you're living in the UK right now, then great. That's where I started. I was in Leeds to start off with. Then I went to like Newcastle, York, Manchester, London. Like, the UK is amazing. The UK is such a great training ground, especially if you go to London, because the women can be quite frosty sometimes. It's a busy city. So people are in a rush. You need to give people a compelling reason to stop. It puts hairs on your chest. You're going to have a lot of blowouts. Also, London, you'll get to meet a lot of tourists as well. So you're going to meet girls from all over the world, and that then allows you to find out like what girls are you into. Like you might meet a Brazilian woman on Oxford Street. You're like, oh wow, that inspires a trip to Brazil, or a Parisian woman in Trafalgar Square. Oh, maybe I like French girls. So it's a beautiful pick and mix. You can find what you like, but I really do think, and people will not like me for saying this, you need to get out of the UK, right? I believe that if you are stuck in the UK and you've got no way of leaving, then you're you're just limited. Like you just are, because realistically, you've got London or Manchester to choose from. Manchester's an amazing city. You'll meet loads of great girls, really beautiful girls, but there's just something about like British or UK girls that I've just grown tired of. I think it's because of the familiarity, to be honest. Like I'm an explorer by heart. I love going and crusading to new territories. And there's just something beautiful about going to foreign shores and almost recreating yourself in a new environment as well. I think regardless of the women, just the personal renaissance you're able to undergo in a new place. Like the person that you are back home in, let's say, Grimsby, it doesn't have to be the person you are when you go to Sao Paulo or Buenos Aires or wherever you go. Like you can recreate yourself. But Eastern European women, like I'm in Belgrade at the moment, and it's an incredible city. The level of English is amazing. The girls are super feminine, super receptive. They almost know how to be cold approached, if that makes sense. Like they're not shocked by it. Like, you know, in places like the States or the UK, you can sometimes like just bump into girls who are just like they're almost offended that you approach them. And I just think it's a little bit sad. It's like I've come over here and I've told you you look beautiful and you're getting triggered by that. I'm like, you know, look, we've all got our own backgrounds, whatever, but the women here get it. Like Poland, like my favorite place is Krakow. Like the women are super feminine, super friendly. They love foreign guys. So, but to wrap it all up, I think wherever you're currently living, use it as much as you can to your advantage, right? Unless you're in fucking North Korea, there's hope for you, right? So, just for me anyway, like this is just me speaking from experience. Like, I think it should be the mission of every young man to at least have it in his mind to venture to foreign shores or faraway lands. You know, and there'll be guys like watching this, like, oh, but Kristian, I've got a job that doesn't allow me to travel. Well, do something about it then. Like I'm sick of people using this as an excuse. I used to clean toilets in a fucking zoo, right? But like no one else is coming to help you. No one came over to me when I was cleaning fucking wildebeest shit off a toilet and being like, look, Kristian, we're gonna help you, you know, do that. Like you have to actually want it. And I think that's a problem with a lot of guys, not just in this space, but men today. They just don't want it enough. Like maybe like a couple of years ago, I was like working with guys like doing boot camps in London, and they showed up to the boot camp and like they're almost offended that they have to approach. I'm like, mate, this is what you fucking signed up for. Like, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna walk around London together. Like, you pay me to just walk with you. It's like, I think guys need to take extreme responsibility for their lives, and I can say that because I've done that. Right? Like, you can see the catalog of content that's on my channel and see how I've actually develop myself. And I'm still continuing to do that as well. I'm not perfect. I'm human being. Like we all make mistakes. We all fall. Maybe sometimes a little bit obnoxious or provocative. Whatever it is, what it is. But I respect people, and I want to be surrounded by people who actually really want it. You know, like that's why you've done so amazingly well for yourself in such a short space of time. You showing up on that first day, you knew exactly why you were there. You didn't give any like bullshit excuses. Whenever you were scared, you told me. Whether self-limiting beliefs you had, you announced them, and we got there together. Like I'll go above and beyond to help anybody who wants to help themselves. I really will. Like I'm ferociously obsessive when it comes to client satisfaction. But if you're gonna come and work with me and you're only gonna give 60%, then fuck you. I don't have time for you. I really don't. Like, go and find some little fucking pansy who just wants to hold your hands and skip around Hyde Park. I'm not that person. So if I offend you, if anything that I say triggers you in some way, then don't watch my stuff. It's very simple. But yeah, that's my take on Eastern Europe. Maybe you've got some things that you want to say as well.
So yeah, well, two things. The first was, I'll just lay out both of them. So the first was I wanted to make a note about like that guy's earlier comment about you disregarding questions and stuff. And then the second point I'll make is that, let's see, what was it? Being reborn in other countries and like my thoughts on that, having done that once now, and like the benefits. So the first thing is, as I'm like hearing you speak, I guess what I'm realizing is, I think that the same person to comment something like that, to comment something that you'll disregard or let's say answer obnoxiously, like he might describe, is the same type of person to show up and expect that they won't have to put in the reps, to expect that the skill set is just going to be like applied to them, like they're just buying the skill set and then like adding that to their I don't know, that their bag or their tool belt. Whereas in reality, it's the skill set, just like you're giving us access to 0%, and now it's like from here we got to build. But first we have to start at nothing. We have to start at never having done the approach before we can get better at it. So, but all this to say that the same person that would show up expecting not to work is the same person that would ask like very specifically constructed questions. And you can just hear it in the language that they use, in their word choice, in the way that they're structuring their sentences, that this is not the kind of person that gets it yet. Not to say that they can't or will never get it, but there's not much value in you giving your time and energy into answering the question to somebody that is just not mentally there yet. Do you have any thoughts on that before I go to my second point?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Like I believe in frequencies and I believe in high and low frequency people, and you can definitely ascend. I want to be around high frequency people. I don't want to be around people who ask me, Kristian, what's the best day game open? Why are you asking that question? You're not going to do anything with it. So, like, why are you just pissing your time away? Asking a question that you've got no intention of doing anything with. Why can't you ask me, Kristian, how can I become incredible with cold approach in the shortest amount of time? That's an incredible question. I will happily sit down with you and give you a blueprint or a playbook to help you with that. Kristian, how can I meet incredible, beautiful women who complement my life and who are there to support me in my mission? Like, these are the levels of questions you have to be asking. Like when I said in that previous live stream, like, your questions are too small, because I don't think people understand, like, the questions you ask yourself on a daily basis, they will literally dictate the reality that you live. When I ask myself, right, how can I create an international lifestyle? How can I create a movement of men that's going to inspire the next generation? How can I be successful whilst making other people successful? Like, how can I create this following? How can I create this movement? How can I genuinely change the fucking world? Those are the questions. That's what excites me. Those are the questions where I'll stay up with you for 12 hours, like hypothesizing and thinking, right, maybe we could do this. Like, I don't know if you've heard that thing. It's called delusional ping pong. It's really cool. It's like you have this like really like lofty goal, like, I don't know, becoming president of fucking Cuba or whatever. And then you have a conversation with a friend who's on the same frequency as you, but you actually like strategize. Like, you actually really like go into like the nuts and bolts of like, well, how are we going to do it? Like, okay, we need connections in Cuba first of all. We're definitely going to need Spanish. Maybe we need to like come up with some like false origin story where like I was part of like the Cuban Missile Crisis. Yeah, maybe the people would buy. I know it's like, it's just fun, right? It doesn't matter if you're not going to do it. But I think when you set wildly ambitious goals that both simultaneously excite you and terrify you, then you know you're on the right frequency. That's when great things happen. Like, I'm a big believer that the world rewards action takers. Like, if you're listening to this and your life is not where you want it to be right now, you don't have the relationships you want, you're not making the money you want, you don't have the sort of mental clarity you desire, you have to sit down with yourself. And I think the two best questions any man can ask is, who am I and what do I want? Right? And you ask yourself those questions every day, because like feelings are forever fluctuating, right? The things that you wanted last year, they might not be the same things you want today. So actually having regular meetings with yourself to actually tap into your own consciousness and be like, okay, where are we at today? like, who are we becoming? Like, what do we actually want? Not what you've been brainwashed into believing you want to want by the fucking brain dead. You're like, yeah, you just need to get a Lamborghini and be a high value man, and women are going to be throwing themselves at. Like, you might not want a Lamborghini. For you, your definition of success might be being free. Like, literally just having enough money in the bank so you can travel the world and not have to worry about having a fucking boss who's like, oh, have you done this like project yet? So like, there's many colors and flavors to success. And something that I really enjoy doing is just like sitting down with guys and just asking themselves, like, why are we here? Like, what do you actually want from this? Like, because I guarantee it goes deeper than day game, right? The guys who I've always worked with, it's always been the case of day game has almost been this catalyst, this springboard towards the rest of their lives. It's like, do you know what, Kristian? Like, I just want to be more confident, man. I want to actually like myself. I want to stop battling with this perceived lack of self-worth. Like, I wake up some mornings, I'm just not really feeling myself. I don't feel as though I'm good enough. I feel as though I'm going to get rejected. I feel as though like I didn't receive love as a child, and like it's affecting me. I don't know how to like cultivate healthy relationships. I'm like, I understand that. It's fucking fine, and I'm happy you can share that with me. Because I think once you're real with yourself, it paves the path towards glory. Because now you're not trying to bullshit anybody, you know. So yeah, I can't remember what the fucking question was, but yeah, that.
Beautiful. Yeah. It was yeah, we were just riffing off of why, these people say that you're disregarding questions, but in reality, reason being, it's just they're not in the right realm quite yet. The questions aren't there. But the other thing I was just gonna to talk about, which you brought up, which it was like rebirth in other environments, and I found this to be an amazing tool that you helped me unlock that I wasn't even aware existed. And yeah, traveling to Poland, the best way I can describe this is I spent my entire life in the States. So California, the Bay Area, they've seen me from incel person sticking in their house playing video games. Like, there are people that have seen me in that era of my life. Whereas flying to Poland, the very first time I stepped foot on Polish soil, they saw me as socially developed, as physically in shape, as emotionally stable, and literally they caught me in like the beginning of the prime of my life. So thus far, up until this point, they caught me at literally the best part of my life. And so it was very interesting being in a country that only knew you as this new version of yourself, and the different ways that I, like, at first I was interpreting all of the looks as like, oh, like, what is this black guy doing in our country? Like, why is he here? And then eventually you helped me realize you could interpret it the looks that way, sure, or you can interpret them as, wow, this is an interesting looking person. Like, I haven't really come across a guy that is so out of the norm as far as physical appearance, but is still like attractive. And so I started taking the looks that way. It's like, wow, they're just really intrigued by what they see. And I operated as though that was actually what was going on. And the country rewarded me that way. Like, it kind of just fell into place, like we talked about. So I just had so many great experiences there. So many dates. We talked about this, like, just because we were hitting it every single day, and like my focus was getting better at this, I was able to, as a byproduct of that, there were just so many dates, and that country just validated me. I guess it's the best way to put it. So much. It validated the little boy in me that never knew I could do anything close to that. And all of these girls that I was interacting with, all they saw was the finished product, at least at that point, in May 2023, versus me from the previous 18 years where I had so much unlearning and growing to do. So that's my take on it. Is what it did for me is it allowed me to just pretend like that never even happened, and I really was this like person all along, and just operate like that, and things fell into place for me because of it. So, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts on it? You've done it a lot more than me.
Yeah, I think I've been to like, I can't remember, about eight countries this year. So I started off in Brazil. I mean that's a whole different thing. But yeah, I started off in Brazil, and then I came back to the UK, went to Romania, and then I was in London, and then I was like in like Bulgaria, Portugal. I'm in like Serbia now, somewhere else, can't remember. Where else did I go to?
Warsaw.
Oh shit, yeah, Warsaw, Krakow. Oh fuck yeah, I forgot about those places. Yeah, other places as well. But look, I I think travel's the best thing that anyone can do. Like, you don't have to even do it full time, but like if you're working like a 9 to 5, like stack up your holidays. Have like I think every single year should have a highlight reel in it somewhere. I think you should be able to look back at the years of your life, and like something should be able to stand out from each year. It's like for me, like 2017, like that was the year that I went to work as a lifeguard in America before I'd got the ban. So like,
Oh, that's how we met. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh shit, yeah. Remember being at the airport. How do you know this guy? Oh, we worked together as lifeguards.
I remember reading that text. I was like, because this is still early in our relationship. So I'm reading this text. We've known each other for a week, and this guy's like, yeah. If the government asks, if the NSA asks, we met as a lifeguard back in 2017. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy in right now? Like,
can you even swim?
You barely. Good that was a good question. I like that. Barely. I can. But fuck, so man. Funny. When I read that, I was shitting my own pants because I was like, what did I just do? Like, what? I've already given this guy 1,000 pounds or something. Like, what the fuck did I just do?
That's hilarious. So yeah, like 2017 was when I was like, teaching kids how to fucking swim. Like 2008, 2018, I went to like Thailand, Cambodia. It's just like, having 2019, I was working fucking Iceland supermarkets. Like that was like a low point in my life. Like I think that was around the time that I was on like universal credit as well. So I had to like get a job somewhere. Like that was like 2019. Fuck me, 2019 was bleak. And then 2020 was when I started all of this. Like on the 4th of July, American Independence Day, 4th of July 2020 was when I started. Why is that funny?
This is a very ironic day to start a channel.
Yeah, that's what I put my first
as an Englishman.
Yeah, I just remember that's like I treat that as like my second birthday. That's when I started like all of this stuff, which is crazy. But yeah, like fast forward to this year, like I've almost like overdosed on experiences. Like if someone says to me, "Oh, what happened in 2023?" Fuck me, I've got like option paralysis. Like someone give me like a menu, a restaurant, I've got like 200 options on it. I'm like that is, but I think that's the goal. Like it's to make your life so like wickedly unique that you're like every day is just an adventure. And I think for me as well, it's like it's easy to get wrapped up in like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. But like when I actually if I'm speaking with somebody, maybe I'm speaking with my mum, and I'm just being a little pansy, I'm just bitching about something, and she's like, yeah, but if you actually look at what you've built so far, like there's not many 26-year-olds who are in this position. So I think I struggle with practicing gratitude because sometimes I feel as though if I'm content with the moment, it's almost like I'm gonna slack off. It's like, oh no, I can't be I can't be content because that might decrease my desire to more and more and more. So I think it's a paradox, but I do think it's a human condition. So it's like Eckhart Tolle said, there's two things that make people miserable. It's not having what you want and getting what you want. I'll be happy when I have the Lamborghini. You're in the Lamborghini, you realize it was never fucking about the Lamborghini anyway. I've never had a Lamborghini, so I can't comment on that, but I assume it would play out that way. But yeah, I think just having a calendar which allows you to look forward to things. Like it doesn't even need to be like a massive travel. Like if you're in the States, for example, maybe you have like a really exciting holiday coming up to a different state. I don't know, maybe you're going to fucking Nebraska to go and like go on the fucking prairies and like look at coyotes or something. Like whatever it is. But I do think like having adventures to look forward to makes you more interesting. And then you've actually got things to talk about as well. Like if you're on a date with a girl, she's like, oh, like what are you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm going to fucking Nebraska. Do you want to come with me? We can go and like be like a prairie couple together. But yeah, I think having adventures to look forward to, I think it does make a man's life a lot more exciting.
Yeah, well, I like that you said that. That was interesting because it made me think about the trajectory of my life. Let's say early 2022. Early 2022, I was living with a girl, and for the foreseeable future, it just looked like I could predict, like my days were predictable, my interactions were fairly predictable, and life was just, yeah, it was just less exciting. So not to belittle her, but this is all like looking at things from my perspective, going, wow, like everything is very predictable right now, versus getting out of that situation, even though it's a little more uncomfortable to live that lifestyle of somebody who, like, I guess the lifestyle of the unknown, really. You don't know the next girl that you're gonna meet. You don't know the length of time it'll be until you get your next date, etc. And I mean, now we kind of do, just because we got pretty good at the skill set. But I find that I much prefer this lifestyle of the unknown to that lifestyle of comfort and security, because although it felt good for 2 months knowing I've got somebody there, she really likes me, I really like her, and we can be vulnerable together and share things with each other. It was a great thing. It was great to have, and I really cherish that memory. But I much prefer not having that safety blanket there, and just being forced into discomfort, and oops, there we go. And just like adapting accordingly. I just really prefer that. And that was, yeah, I don't know, that thought was just sparked when you were talking about yeah, your last points there. So what do you think
So,
about,
would
what's your take on that?
well, I mean, when I got into this, I was in a long-term relationship at the time. Like, I was living with my ex-girlfriend. So I've been with her for about 18 months, and we were living together. It was during COVID as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, I went for a walk one day. I remember it. That's basically the turning point, actually, of like these next like 3 years, because I knew that like I had a decision to make as I was on that walk. And like at that point as well, like 3 years ago, like I really wasn't much of a, like if I met myself now, I think I'd literally talk to myself as I talk to like the fucking weak-willed people like on these streams. Like I was an absolute pussy. I really was. Like, yeah, I'd done magic, but like I was situationally confident. You know, I was situationally confident. If I had a pack of cards in my hand, I was confident. But like, just like having that like emotional resilience, being able to handle shit, like make decisions, make difficult decisions. Like I was still developing in that area. But anyway, I went for a walk. I just asked myself, truly, is this relationship what you actually want, Kristian? Like, is it actually what you want? And even as I was even tussling in my own mind about it, I was like, oh yeah, but it could be good. I was like, no, like we need to stop this. No, it's not what I want. So I went back to the apartment, and like I'd never done anything like this in my life before. Like this felt like big, like a big deal to me, because like this relationship was great. Like it was really good. Like a girl that I really liked, and there's no problems with it. But like like a week earlier, I'd seen like infield like content online. It was actually from the Natural Lifestyles. I saw James Marshall in Barcelona, and just something changed within me. Like I do believe that like that video was sent from God on my fucking YouTube algorithm. I mean, who else controls the algorithm? It's not God. And then I just watched the video and I couldn't forget about it. I was like, I could do this. Like I know full well I could put myself on camera. I can film infield footage. I already had like the entire like vision like laid out before me. I knew the steps that I wanted to take. I knew I wanted to put videos out online. I wanted to inspire like-minded guys. I wanted to find guys who really resonated with me and just build a fucking empire from that. Like I already knew the process just by watching that video. So that's what it was. It was a decision between this girl and my future. Yeah. So I sat down with her. I was like, I didn't tell her the exact reason why we were breaking up. I was like, this relationship, I feel as though it's gone as far as it can go. It's the whole like it's not you, it's me type of deal. Anyway, she was sad. We continued living together as well for like the next 2 months, because we had an apartment together and it was COVID, so we couldn't even go anywhere. So we continued having sex. I think she thought she was pregnant. I remember I had to go and get like a pregnancy test. It was during COVID and shit. So I was like, oh fuck. And I got the wrong one. So I had to go back to the same shop again with the fucking mask on. I was like, oh, I need to get another one. Can't remember which one I got. Anyway, she wasn't pregnant. But that's a different thing.
Wow, life would have been way different if that turned out differently. Wow.
Oh, I know. I remember because I remember being on the phone with my mum. I was by it's called the Calls in Leeds. It's basically like by the waterfront, and it was around like May time of 2020. And being on the phone to my mum, being like, "Fuck, I think she's pregnant," and like just like in my head, I was thinking, "Oh my fucking god! Like this is like monumental. Like I could be a fucking father. I've got like a child on the way. Kiss goodbye to your fucking day game channel, Kristian." But yeah, anyway, it all worked out like well, and she's doing great now as well. You know, like she's happy, she's doing a thing. She was like a writer, so like we connected like artistically, whatever. But I look back on that, and I do think like in every man's life, there are decisions that are needed to be made. I heard someone describe it as like stick or twist. You know, if you're living with a girl and it's all comfortable and you're getting your needs met, it can be difficult to actually basically trade all of that in for no certainty. Like there was no certain. Well, I guess there was because, like, I think like confidence is optimism in the absence of certainty, right? That's what it is. So, like, I say there was no certainty, but the certainty was in my mind. Like, I knew that I would do whatever it takes to make this a success. So there wasn't really any doubt in my mind. Like, I think if you were an onlooker looking at me, being like, "This guy's got no fucking chance," because I was making videos for months. Like no one was watching. Maybe my highest video would get like 20 views. I was literally getting. There's a lot of videos that are like not on the channel anymore because I privatize them. I sometimes watch them back. But like, they're just like god awful videos. But I was just putting them out every single week. Like another one, another one, another one, another one. And I think that's the best part of the process. It's the becoming, not the being. It's just like eating shit for as long as possible and just having like delusional confidence in your own vision. I think like that's the best thing. So now if I watch back like early videos when I'm in that like grotty apartment in Leeds making videos, I'm like, wow, like 3 years later, then I'm gonna have like the international lifestyle where I'm doing all these things and people like cry about it online, being like, oh, it's easy for you. And it's like, well, you know, you weren't there. And I think that's why I like this process of being able to work with guys, just to be like, I'm not in this ivory tower. I wasn't born into wealth. I wasn't born into like, you know, naturally good looks. I didn't have those things. But what I did have was a ruthless work ethic. And I knew that if you give me anything, I was always obsessive with it. I don't know if I'm like autistic to some degree, but whatever I got involved with, I was just really obsessive with it, whether it was magic or swimming or whatever it was. I was just ruthlessly obsessive with it. And I do think that's what you need. I don't think that if you're going to get involved with something like cold approach, you can't half-ass it. You know, you really do have to be all in for a sustained period. Maybe it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Depends if you've got accountability. Depends if you're getting feedback. It depends if you've got a masculine support network. Like, I've met guys who've been doing this for fucking years, longer than I have, and they've literally got nothing to show for it. It's like, what have you been doing all this time? Just get someone to give you fucking feedback. Like, they're just dressed terribly, or they stink, or the personality is just off. And you just tell straight away, like, if this is what you like with me, what the fuck are you like when you're speaking with these girls? And they're just bewildered. They're like, oh, but I don't understand. I'm not getting results. It's like, well, yeah, look at you. Like, literally fucking look at yourself. I had to take a long, hard look at myself. Jesus Christ, these look horrendous. But, like, I think guys these days, they can't take feedback. They really can't. You say anything to a guy these days, they'll just cry about it. They literally will. And it's like, well, God, fuck you. If you can't take feedback, like, what are you even on this journey for? Because you're going to get a lot of feedback if you're cold approaching.
Well, hearing you speak about like your experiences before starting the channel is really helping me realize like there's only ever one option in this stuff, which is I had to get out of that situation. You had to get out of the situation, or else my life never would have exploded. And I'm one example of the hundreds of guys that you've already coached and helped just non-directly through just putting your content out. So when I like take a step back and just turn around and look at things in hindsight, I'm like, he had to move out. Like, if he didn't do that, there wouldn't have been the cascade of effects in my life and all these other guys' lives. And so it's like the decision's almost made for you already if you know that there's some sort of impact that you can make as far as, and it doesn't even have to be in this space, but similarly, like that's kind of like the point where I'm at, where I was kind of looking back, and I'm not considering a relationship or anything, but like in the past, if I was to be faced with that option, it would have been a little less clear to me which option to choose, because I didn't realize that there was this ball of potential that could help others, like more specifically just taking the spotlight off of myself. I didn't realize that there's so much value in just the experience and sharing the experience. I thought that I needed to have like whole university package to give to people and sell as a product. But it's like, no, just like the fact that I was willing to turn away from that guaranteed comfort of relationship and just walk the other way and then start on this journey and put myself in this position and fly to Poland. Like, just the fact that I'm willing to do that is help in itself. And so all this to say, there is no decision at this point. It's like I have to go this way. I have to make these decisions because knowing that now there's a cascade of effects in other people's lives and seeing the comments that like, oh, this shit is actually helping people. It's like, well, now I know the decision already. It's made for me.
Definitely. And yeah, I titled this one like there's two things. There's two things that I believe made men successful. And I think there's two areas of life that we all need. Yeah, we all need them. And the two areas are relationships and communities. So like I think that when you've got great people around you and you've got a great woman or maybe a few women who are really giving you that nurturing feminine energy, almost acting as like your muse in a way, I do think that's when great things happen. And it might even be a case of like you have to go through like a hiatus where you don't have, maybe you just don't have women in your life for a little while, but the idea of women still exists. I think that's interesting because for me, like it's the whole abundance, right? Abundance isn't always having, but it's knowing you can have. And what
Mm.
this skill set has provided me with is a huge sense of non-neediness. Because like I know if, let's say, I don't have any women in my life right now. Let's say I go somewhere like Serbia or I go to, I don't know, fucking Kazakhstan. I don't know anyone there. I'm not feeling like needy because I know that all I need to do is go outside, be my charismatic self, which I've made myself into, and good things can happen. I think that's why learning a skill like cold approach, it really does transform your life because now when you're going through the world, if you're going through like a dry spell, or let's say you're dating a girl, she's been a bit like annoying, or the relationship's not working, you're not clinging on to her because you know you've got the skills to acquire. And it's the same with friends as well. I think cold approach allows you to be a better social orchestrator and more ruthless with your time as well. Like you'll find this the more on your entrepreneurship journey you go, you've just got less time for people who are not on the same path as you, and that's why I put the entourage together because I wanted to always have this network around me. So like whenever I look on like my phone, for example, I'm getting flooded with like ideas and like supportive messages, or maybe I say something and like someone in the group disagrees with me. That's great. Like the best thing, like even though I've put the group together, I love it when people have alternative opinions to me. Like I'm not this like, fucking like high and mighty figure. Like I've assembled a network of guys. We can all learn from each other, but I'm not immune to criticism. If I say something and like you don't agree with it, then we're able to have a healthy disagreement or a healthy debate. And I might change my mind after listening to what you say. That's always been the thing I've never really liked with other like mastermind groups. Like you'll pay to access, and it's like the person whose group it is immune from any sort of criticism, and like whatever they say is just treated as gospel. But like I've been in so many groups where the person who's leading the group has got no fucking idea what they're talking about. And if someone like calls them out on something, it's like, oh, remember whose group this is? Like I can get rid of you.
Mm.
And like, even though I might come across this way, like on a live stream, like as some fucking tyrannical dictator, like that's how I am to people who've not invested into me. But for the guys who have invested into me, who literally paid money to be in my life and to get this service, the playbook, everything, then like I'm not like that, right? Like in the group,
Yeah.
I look after the people who are there. And
Mm.
maybe you can talk about that because obviously you're in the fucking
Yeah.
group.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah.
say to plug. This is a perfect thing to wrap up on too. To plug the entourage. So yeah, I was actually thinking about this as you were speaking. I noticed that. So I'll share a story first, and then I'll talk about it. So I was on that date that I was talking about Saturday. So yeah, 2 days ago, from a girl that I met that day, and she asked me. We were in a venue, a nice spot, playing some music, and I remember her asking me like, "Oh, well, like what else? Like what else do you do with your free time? Like who do you go out with friends? This and that." And I didn't really have much of an answer, and I realized it was because, like, obviously there's like a certain amount that I was willing to share with her, and I'm not going to go into like this whole space that I'm in about cold approaching, but that's like the majority of my life now. Not because I like am so invested into this space, but more so because I prefer my friends that are in this space over like my physical friends that are here in America. And I haven't spoken to them since I moved out, not in like a wow, I really don't like you kind of way, but just like our lives seem to be kind of like aimed in a different direction. And I noticed that like when I get a text from them, I'm almost drained. Like, fuck, I have to respond to this. Like, they're gonna want to go do this. They're gonna want to leverage my skill set that I paid, that I built, to their advantage. It's kind of like take versus whenever I get a notification from the entourage from you, it's always like you're giving me value. We're exchanging value. Like there's no taking going on. It's just like we're giving. And so yeah, I noticed so that I kind of closed myself off and I'm really just focused on like making sure that my family's good, spending as much time with my parents as I can while they're still here, knowing that there's a shelf life because they're 20 years from now they won't be here. But the very loose like friends that I did have in my life that I was just going out to bars and clubs with, like yeah, I pretty much accidentally just cut ties with them because I have access to a group that is so like-minded that I actually can relate to, that sees the world with a similar lens, through a similar lens, versus like a very critical of women lens. We have the pretty much the exact opposite, like critical of ourselves, and as a byproduct of that, we at all. Entourage was amazing. So very glad to be a member.
We are delighted to have you as well. How long have you got? Do you need to wrap up?
About right now, I gotta go. Yeah, I didn't realize it was 9.
Fine. Well, listen, absolute pleasure speaking with you. I'll leave your
Always.
links and stuff in the comments and in the title as well, so guys can go over and they can watch your first infield video on your channel. And yeah, I'll continue to promote and to flood you with exposure and just send the good messages across. But yeah, we'll do more of these in the future. Just well done. You've got over 100 subscribers now. I'm looking forward to when you've got the fucking million, mate. I'll be there with the fucking party popper, celebrating away. But yeah, like I say, I want everyone who's associated with me to win. And when you win, I win. Rising tide lifts all the boats. So yeah, listen, have a fucking amazing day. Thank you again for dedicating your time to this stream. I hope the guys have got a lot of value from it. I'll speak to you in the next one. All right.
Yeah. Thank you for your support. Stay sexy.